Welcome to This Moment with Lisa and Caroline.
Welcome, everyone. Welcome to the Diamond Mothering. We're here to illuminate the core of the feminine force, and this is our special edition with Mothers of Attraction with amazing guests. So excited to have the beautiful Anthea Morphitis.
That's it, perfect. Yay!
I have to bring that out for a drive. I haven't said it before. And we're so thrilled to have Anthea here. We're friends from the Mental Health Warriors, and she's decided to come on and share her story with us because such an icon of the feminine force. So Lisa, I'm so thrilled to introduce you to Anthea. She's a mindset coach and wealth coach and a law of attraction coach and an author and speaker and an all-round amazing human being who's aligned completely with my passion for trying to awaken people's full potential and for them to have a positive and amazing life and be abundance in every part of their lives, even in relationships. And she has a teenage daughter and she's here to share her story with us.
Thank you so much. Thank you both for having me here. Really excited about this. Thank you so much. And just watching the opening of the video gave me goosebumps and nearly started crying.
Oh,
because it's so touching when you watch mothers and daughters together, like how it can become such a phenomenal relationship when you get out your own way, right? And you allow it to be that.
Yeah, that's so true.
Yeah, it's so powerful.
Actually a great way to start it, because it's like the relationship is already there. It naturally already exists, and it's just all the other stuff we bring into this moment that gets in the way of the relationship that's already there. And often you don't realize that as a mum. It's like, why isn't my relationship working? But it's actually not the relationship. It's just everything else you're bringing in. So yeah, get out of your way.
Yeah,
the perspective we hold also, right?
Yeah, completely. It is all about that, isn't it, Anthea? And would you share a little bit about your kind of journey to kind of becoming this law of attraction mindset and how that affected your mothering?
It changed my mothering in such a profound way, actually. It really taught me, like starting off with in personal development, I think it was from about 13 years ago now. So I was 19. I was 19 when I fell pregnant with my first. So I had my son first at 20 and then my daughter at 22. So there's 18 months apart from them. So I've grown up with my kids. And it's interesting because there's a thing around, being a single mum and this massive stigma behind it. And so many people see you back when I had my children and I became a single mum from the off-go, it was very much frowned upon because it wasn't a normal thing. So I used to fear my kids going to school, what people would say, because everybody was like, especially in my community as a Greek Cypriot, everyone was married. You didn't know, it was unheard of to have babies outside of marriage. But Anthea comes along kind of completely outside the rules of everything, does her thing. And I got a lot of stick for it. So, I went through the beginning of having children, quite an angry mum, really, because I was, it was, well, why should this happen to me? And I didn't understand the fact of we create our own reality. I didn't understand that I was in control of what happens, and it's about how I see things, my thoughts, my emotions, and how I choose to have a relationship with myself first and foremost, before even my children, So getting into the personal development side of things, and then getting into the law of attraction when I was 30, changed everything, because I started to realize how powerful I actually was and how control of my life I really did actually have, rather than feeling that victim. However, even before knowing that, one thing I must say that I've always felt very proud of. I've given, like, although I've done it solo with my children, we were always out and we were always having fun. Everyone used to always come to my place. I'd be the mother that would pick up the other children from school, take them round to ours, or take them out, go swimming. Like, we had a weekly thing of swimming and cinemas, and on the weekend go to the park and do picnics, play football, or whatever it was. We were always out and about, because I always believed that I didn't have that as a child. So I always wanted to put that with my children. So coming to, they were like 10 years old, 10 and 11, 9 and 10, I think, when I came across the law of attraction in particular, and just understanding the dynamics of our energy and how we are as beings. I started to teach my children along with what I was learning. So, and, if I'm going to fast forward a little bit here, for who they are today, I don't think they could have become who they are today if I hadn't implemented certain, everything I was learning. And if I hadn't put that into them, to say to them things like, follow your gut instincts, trust yourself, know that you can be, do, or have anything. You are the center of the universe. You can have anything you want. You put your mind to it and you can be it, you can have it, you can do it. So there was never like, you can't do something in my household. It was always you can. And one thing that changed massively was all news was not allowed in my household. I never put the news on. When the radio was on and they'd come and put the news on, they'll speak negative, it would all be switched off. It was not allowed in my household. I would not allow any of that stuff to come through to them, because there were so many people, especially with daughters around, that would say, oh, don't let your daughter out. There's so many men out there that do this, and men that do that. And it would put this like perspective on a young girl to be frightened of men. And now I never see it that way. I used to say to my daughter, when you go out, you walk, and in your mind, you always tell yourself, I am blessed. I am blessed, and everything's always working out for me. And she took that and she really implemented it. And I used to say, I don't care how many people are around you. If it doesn't feel good, you walk away. You call me and you walk away from whatever it is. So you don't ever have to do something you don't want to do. I'm always, thank goodness for mobile phones, I'm always on the other end of the phone, right? So I was able to implement things that I would never have done had I not understood the law of attraction, had I not got into it. Maybe I would have been one of those mothers that puts the fear in their girls when they walk out the door, like, oh, don't wear that because this could happen, or don't do this, or don't. But I was always encouraging my daughter to do the things she wanted to do, and know that she's blessed regardless of anything. Know that the universe always has your back. Know that you've always got support, and you're always loved, and you can walk and go wherever you want because you're blessed. So it's like a halo around you. Something's, got the energy around you that's always protecting you. So she never thought any different than that. And I can honestly put my hand on my heart and say the girl's had a good life, and now she's blossoming in like such a beautiful way. And the same with my son. But as we're speaking about daughters, I'll speak about my daughter. But it's so yeah, absolutely life-changing. The relationship we have, all three of us, we've got an amazing, profound relationship. I love our relationship. We can talk about anything. A lot of people used to say, oh, you can't be your friend to your kids. You've got to have that role, and you've got to know. But they've always known, because I've always been older than them. It's never changed. I've always been older than them. They always knew I was the person of the house. So I didn't have to voice that. I never had to stand and say, oh, you have to listen to me. It was always, if I needed their help, knock on the door. Do you have a minute? Can you come and help me with something? It doesn't have to be right this moment, but can you? Yes, mum, of course we can. Yes, mum, yes, mum. And I always used to get yes, mum, because I always respected their time. I respected that I couldn't just walk in their room and demand I wanted them to do something. So there was a huge level of respect between us. The same from them to me. If they wanted me to pick them up from somewhere, they knew they had to give me some kind of notice, because mum's doing stuff too, So, but I think that's overall an awareness of self first and foremost, and then being able to implement that into your relationships, and especially with your daughter. And I had many of my daughter's friends, when I'd pick them up from school, it would be quite funny, because you would have thought sometimes I was somebody famous, because the car would be surrounded every time I would go. Oh, it's Sophia's mum. Oh my goodness, they'll run over to the car. Why are you not my mum? I wish she was my mum. I wish she was my mum. And it was the most coolest and sweetest thing. But I used to say to all of them, look, don't wish anybody other than your own mother. Your mother brought you into this world. She carried you. She can be your best friend too, She can be the person you turn to. And as much as I appreciated them saying, I wish you was my mum, and why are you not my mum? I always encourage them to build that relationship with their parents. And I sat with many of my children's friends and spoke with them and helped them to build that relationship, because, yes, it is a nice thing, someone to say that to you, but at the same time, it's not for me. It's not mine to have like that. It's for the mothers to be able to have that relationship with their daughters or their sons. So I would encourage them to speak to their parents, and things they could say to themselves to help the progressiveness of a good relationship, So yeah, and it is all about listening, understanding, respecting, because I know a lot of times people, I used to hear a lot, the girls would come back from school and the mum would be like, do the washing up now, or go upstairs and do your homework. I don't want to hear anything until you finished your homework. Where I had a different approach. When you're ready, guys, go upstairs, do what you need to do. It will help you, and it will help you learn in yourself, and it will help you progress in life. And don't you want that for yourself? I'd ask them, don't you want that for yourself? Do you want to be the best you can be? So I'd ask them questions rather than demand things, because I have found, and I have experienced so many times where the kids have come and said, my parents just don't listen to me. My mum doesn't listen to what I say. She just wants me to do, but she doesn't ask me, how was your day? What did you learn today? What do you want to do? What excites you? What is your passions? And I think a lot of these things this is where you stand in your own way, really, because that relationship could be phenomenal if you ask the right questions and you approach your children not as the boss, but as somebody who loves them and cares for them. And I'm not saying people don't love and care for them, but I just think we're not taught how to be parents, and we have our own stuff going on, like you said, Lisa, a lot of our own stuff, and we bring it to the present. And don't get me wrong, I haven't been perfect as being a mother. I definitely have not been a perfect mother. However, I've understood where my mistakes have been, and I've rectified them along the way. And I think that's the power of understanding personal development, or getting into personal development, and understanding how the laws of the universe work, because they are working, and we do live in an energy-based universe. We are energy beings. We do attract to us, it doesn't matter what we call it, this is what it is. So I think it's worth working with that dynamics of life, and being able to implement certain things, and be able to have that self-love for yourself, and be able to reflect that onto your children, and give them that time and space to be who they want to be, not who you want them to be. Not demand they go to university, demand they do this, or demand they do that. It's a conversation, and a conversation, communication will get you everywhere,
Yeah, I also think too, what I'm hearing from what you're saying is it's almost like yes, you're doing all these things, but right down underneath everything, you are in a state of being. Like it's the state of being, the state that you're in, that doesn't actually require them to be anything so that you feel okay. So you can just allow them to be how they are. And it's not like you have, because when I know a lot of mothers, and it's pretty reasonable and pretty valid that we do feel fear or feel insecurities, and we're not actually taught how to deal with that. So that does often come out as, snappiness or, harshness or force, because we feel out of control. And the funny thing was, actually, I worked with a girl yesterday, and she said to me, I can't believe when I understand how my emotions work and how to actually use them. And she said, I feel like I'm in so much control of my life. And she said, not control as in I'm controlling it, holding together, but she said, I actually feel for the first time in my life that I am in control in a good way. And I'm like, yes, that's exactly right. Because like, that's where your power is, right? And it influences, it influences everything. It influences the children around you. It influences everything in your life, not just how you feel in yourself. And that's it's a beautiful demonstration. And it's also encouraging for mums that may not sort of know or may not be experiencing that right now, is that it's actually not that hard to do. You just do little bits at a time, right? You just have the understanding.
Yeah. Anthea, I absolutely love everything that you said there. There's so many different things I could pull out from that, but it's just gorgeous what you're kind of talking about, where you're kind of redesigned yourself from the inside out, and like when you get to know yourself and you have that kind of lovely presence about yourself, and then the respect. I really love that, because I really feel that's very much lacking in the understanding of the dynamic, of kind of, okay, you might be older, but you have to treat children with the same respect that you want to be treated, like that's a basic thing across all religions, and across all forms of kind of thought, that like just to treat somebody as you would like to be treated yourself, it's a really basic one to remember, but it has such a big power when it comes to children, because I suppose that the authoritarianism that you feel like you just tell them what to do, and then they wonder why they're back cheeking at you, and there's no manners and all that kind of stuff, because they're mirroring. It's mirror neurons in our mind, when you're doing study mindfulness and neuroscience, like you learn like it is a mirror neurons that they're mirroring. That's where they learn, through mirroring. And it's just when you treat them with respect, they are learning how to be respectful.
Yes.
In that regard,
Yes, Caroline, and that's it's so true. Like it's a very, how can I say, and I'm not disrespecting in any way here when I say there's so many parents just demand from their children, and you see it and you hear it, and you just think. I had somebody the other day say about their daughter, like she said, oh, she's so moody. She doesn't want to talk to anyone. She comes home and she closes the door. She doesn't want to say anything like, she'll go and speak to her friends, but she doesn't want to talk to me. I'm her mother. I don't understand. It's like, you don't need to understand. And she wanted to change her. And I think this is something as well. We like, when it comes to any relationship, when you're trying to change someone, it doesn't work, because they are who they are. All we can do as people, as parents, is to, like you just said, Caroline, be that person that you want to be, and that will outline and shine onto the other person. And the more they see you like that, the more their behavior will mirror what is going on. But if you're turning up and you're shouting, well, why don't you talk to me? Why are you always closing the door? Why do you not want to listen to me? Then those why don't yous and all of that is just going to mirror that coming back to you. And that's going to continue to happen more and more, because it's a complaint and not an appreciation. Like I asked her, what can you appreciate about your daughter? What is there that you love about her? What does she do that, really makes you smile? And she said a few things, and I said, well, that's the story you need to tell.
Yeah. And to focus on that, the focus on that. I was saying, like, with the diamond, it's like having a flaw in the diamond, and you're just looking at the flaw all the time. You're not looking at the diamond that you have in front of you, and like to focus on the things that are beautiful about that, I love that. Yeah. And we call that mirroring, the supermodeling, you know, so instead of supermodeling on the catwalk, but to supermodel your own behavior is being
Supermodeling, yeah.
modeled back, you know. It's the same thing. It's
Absolutely.
the mirror neurons. Like it's not woo woo. Like it's in our brain pattern structure, how the brain grows, you know. So the brain is growing in relationship to our environment, and the closest part of our environment is actually our relationships with our parents. So, you know, the best way that we can support our children and their, you know, their brain development is like that, is like to be mirroring what you want to create, you know, that kind of way. So it's just becoming conscious, like, so it's like the consciousness of your mothering in that way. So it's not that people, it's just that people don't have that education and awareness, you know. That's the thing, isn't it? You know, it's not until you did the work, I did the work, you know, Lisa did the work, that we all realized that there is a different way to mother. There's a different way available, you know, and that can actually have a huge transformational effect with yourself. And, you know, because, you know, yourself, like all your relationships kind of make you shine in the world. If you have beautiful relationships in your life, you're going to be illuminated and feel fantastic, you know. And, you know, it'll help that law of attraction, because, you know, it just helps that beautiful glow in yourself, doesn't it? You know, and you can start to kind of attract more of that, like,
you align
So-
with it, don't you? Sorry, Lisa.
And no, so I was going to say emotional safety, right? That's us feeling so safe and feeling so at ease about being who we are. And I think, you know, that was one thing that I learned, is that I could quite easily get stuck in the problem and see my daughter as that problem. And, you know, I'd give her that label, and that's the identity. And sometimes, like, I've been blessed to have the opportunity to raise sort of 3 children sort of early on in a different way, and then mother in a new way with my last daughter. So I sort of have this great comparison thing that I can do.
yeah.
But I remember
Yeah.
with my younger kids, because it was just so hard. Like, I had twin boys too, and it was so hard sometimes, and I was so challenged, and I just couldn't see any solution. So for me, there was just, I didn't realize that it was all about me dealing with my feelings of not good enough, and my feelings of not being the best mum, and my feelings of, oh my gosh, they're going to do this if I don't do that. Instead, all I could do is just see that problem, and you actually forget how much you love them. Like, you're so engrossed in this, like, I have to fix this issue, that you forget how much you love them. And it's like, and in that moment, in those times, there's actually no connection. So for the child is like feeling, I'm not good enough, because they're not feeling the active loving of the parent. Not that the parent doesn't love them, but the parent is just so absorbed in their, how can I fix this, because the child is not right, you know. And that keeps you really trapped. And for me, like, the freedom has come when I've gone, you know, I'm in an emerging process with my daughter. Any day she could wake up and something could be happening that's like, oh, okay, this is an interesting thing to traverse. But I never go, like, it's always going to be like that, because, you know, Mother Nature, it's always changing. Everything's always changing. So it's like our capacity to not hold on to and identify and make things a concept in our mind and create a problem. So to be able to deal with the way we feel, do the actions we need to take, but then keep living in the solution, which is what that law of attraction is, seeing what we want and knowing that who she really is perfect. Like, all of that is just, you know, this moment, you know, what's come up because of experiences, you know.
Yeah, and a lot of us do, you know, like all of what you're describing that goes on within the parent is, you know, the societal pressures, you know, and like we're talking about, you know, our background, how we were raised, and things that we feel we need to do, and all the pressures that we put on ourselves, you know, until you start to take that control of your own self, you know, and start to kind of unlock, and then realize, actually, I'm an adult, like, it's time for me to grow up. I'm not a child anymore. I can make decisions. There's nobody telling me what way I have to be, you know, because that's been ingrained in us. Like, you have to be like this, you have to be, you know, you shouldn't, couldn't, wouldn't, all this kind of, you know, is kind of a rhetoric that goes on in the head, until you start to realize that that's kind of something that doesn't need to be listened to, and you start peeling that back and understanding the effect that has on your life. And, you know, then, you know, you start to become more at ease, and then more in control then within your relationships, and, you know, that you can have that spaciousness around when something happens, you know, like we're talking about the emotional, you know, I suppose emergence, that you can feel maybe something arising in yourself because of the exterior world. It's something to do with the conditioning you had since you were a child, but you're aware of it, and then you have the control to just watch it and just feel it and move through it, and not to put it onto your children, you know.
And I think that's the point, isn't it, Caroline? What we're thinking about and how our emotions are and all the things that we've got in us, we will end up putting that on our children and create limiting beliefs for them to not be able to move forward in their life. And then they've got to go through a process of having to clear all that out of them and be able to, like, you know, learn how to rewire their subconscious mind. And they've got to go and do things that actually, had we learned ourselves and been able to really put that into our mothering skills, then it helps them have a easier life in that way, be able to do things with ease. Like, I remember, I just had a flashback as you were speaking of my daughter getting out the car, just I think around 6 months ago or so, and we'd just gone out for something to eat, and she'd just got into a relationship at the time, and she was with her, he was with us, and something got said, and she said, well, I love myself. And I said, oh, I love that, Sophia. And she said to me, no, I really love myself. She says, Mum, ask my boyfriend what I'm like. She goes, you know, you've seen me already. She goes, I look in the mirror and I tell myself every day, oh my God, you're just so beautiful. I love you. And I said, and I laughed. I said, I love you. You know, she goes to me, but Mum, you're the one that's put this in my head from how many years ago to always love myself. And I said to her, I was like, brilliant. And I said to her, you know what, it's funny because I've forgotten about these things. I've forgotten about the principles that I said to her, you know. And she's like, Mum, I've never forgotten it. And I always, if I'm having a bad day, I would look in the mirror and remind myself that I'm brilliant, that I'm beautiful, and I've got this. And I was like, yes.
Oh, I love that so much. And you know what, Anthea, that reminds me of my grandmother, Dari. She lived until she was 95 on her own. She was a force, and she never aged. She always looked amazing, but she always used to say to herself, her mantra was, I think I'm fantastic. She constantly said that, you know, and she just had such a glow about her. She always just, and she traveled the world on her own. She did things no one would ever dream of, as you know, that back, not my mother's age, but her back in her time kind of thing, you know. And it's amazing. She just had that attitude, like, I think I'm fantastic.
I love that. And that's what it's about, really, isn't it? Because we want sorry, Lisa.
Oh, no, I was just going to ask if we could unpack that a little bit, because with younger girls now, like, you know, when you're talking about 12, 13, 14-year-olds, when I look out, the influence of social media on them, if they're on, and most of them are, because like it's, you know, like that is the culture, they're constantly bombarded by images and things and everything. So it's like, I'm not good enough. I'm not good enough. I don't have that thing. I don't have that thing. I don't have the best. I don't have that. So they're constantly bombarded with that. And the body dysmorphia, you know, the amount of girls that cannot see their own beauty, that cannot, nothing is good enough. Like the eyelashes aren't long enough, the nose, the face, the, you know, and that, even though, and like I know so many mums that are like, I keep telling her how beautiful she is. I keep encouraging her to really see the beauty in her, like the bits that she likes, and focus on that. So mums are trying very hard to actually encourage their daughters to do that. And so I think it would be great if you could actually give mums, how can they bring that, and I know you can't force anybody to do anything, but what sort of things could mums be thinking about? What sort of words could they be using? What sort of actions could they be doing to really help their daughters? Because I think this is a real pandemic, actually, you know, and it is so freaking sad, because like at my age, I go, I wish that I had appreciated how gorgeous I was when I was a teenager, right? My body was tight. It was just like, I was just like, whoa. And I spent all this time going, my body's not good enough. And I'm like, what am I doing? I should have been like, whoa, feel my body.
I had the thought today, Lisa. I literally had that thought today. And I said to myself, oh man, my body was on point. And now I know what it looks like not to be on point, how it was, that like tightness, and there's no loose skin anywhere. It was just perfect.
You didn't
And I said,
appreciate
I'm
it.
so fat. I'm so fat. And
I
I was
know.
not. I was like this. I was a little stick, but I
Yeah,
thought I
I
was
know.
fat. And I think going back to that question, I'm just trying to think because I'd said it to them from such a young age. Like
yes, I think
it
that's
wasn't
it.
something I implemented as my daughter got older or to my son. I didn't say it to them. I said it to them from such a young age that they just naturally become a subconscious thing to both of them. And you know, I can say like with my son that he had a few years back when he was in school, he had gone for a little point where somebody had kept on saying to him about like his nose was big, and he hadn't said anything to me, and then one day he stood up for himself, and all of that changed. And I said to him, you know, he realized that he was good enough and his nose it didn't matter. Even if his nose was big, small, he didn't care, because I think subconsciously of what I'd kept on implementing both of them. So I think as they got to, if in the day and age we're at now, and there's so much of it, I think all you can keep doing is actually, I think it's easier when it comes from other people.
Yes,
You know, like when it comes from the mother, sometimes, especially when it comes, not even just the mother, when it's so close to you, you kind of like, you can tell somebody something that's really close to you and they won't take it on board. And then somebody they've never met and they might say exactly the same words as what you said, and they'll come say, oh my God, that person said blah, 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 and they take it on board. So they listen to it. So I think maybe it's something that you could actually say to people around you that, you know, that obviously are around and can love and support what's going on, and literally just drop little nuggets. Oh, you look really good today. Oh, wow. Like, I wish my body was like that at your age, you know, just like, oh goodness, or not even like the body side of thing. Because again, that's kind of putting a thing on what your body should look like, because it doesn't matter. It's the inside that counts. And at the end of the day, I think if the people around can drop little nuggets, it can help massively. But maybe like videos, like finding videos online that can encourage the self-love side of things, and I understand the thought process and understand our emotions and understand that what you're seeing online isn't real. It's, you know, they're all filters. And actually, there's a scenario where an experience I had I think it was only last year, where my daughter again had, we were abroad and we were staying abroad. And so she was on the phone to her friends on FaceTime and whatnot, and they were talking. And one of them had said, oh, you know, she's getting a nose job done and then she's having Botox done. And they started to try and encourage my daughter to do the same. Now she was 18 years old or 19. And now I never heard the conversation, but my daughter came to me after and said, Mum, I've got this like line here and I don't want it. And I said, why? What did it do to you? And she said, didn't do anything. I said, so why don't you want it? Like, what happened? She goes, well, my friend said, like, you know, it stands out. And I said, what did it do to them? She said, nothing. I said, so what's the problem? She said, well, you can see it. And I said, well, yeah, we can see everything everything that's here. We can see it. I don't see what the problem is. She said, well, I said, so what's the point of this? What we're getting at? She says, well, you know, she said, one of them said they had an injection to get rid of it. Do you think I could have an injection to get rid of it? And I said to her, whereabouts is it? And she said, she pointed right in the middle. I said, do you know what's there? She said, what do you mean? I said, that's your third eye. That's where your vision sits. I said, would you like to be able to visualize what you want in your life? And she said, yeah. And I said, do you enjoy visualizing? She said, I love it. And I said, have you created some great things in your life through visualizing? She said, yeah, Mum, like, well, look where we are right now. Like, I visualized this and we're here. And I said, so see all the things that you do and all those visions that you have, did you want to interrupt that and make that not be able to have a clear vision anymore? She said, no. I said, do you want an injection where your third eye is? She said, no. I said, are you going to do it? She said, no. I said, do you like your little line that you see? And she said, oh, no, I'm happy with it, Mum. It's okay. I'm going to keep it there. I said, yeah, exactly. It doesn't matter. It just doesn't matter. These things don't make a difference to anything. It does not matter. At the end of the day, to me, I don't agree with injections and things like that. And I'm not saying whoever does it, it's, you know, it's no judgment. It's up to you what you do. I just won't have something like that happen. But it was amazing how the pressure of other people doing it, and then all of a sudden, we've never heard about this line, and all of a sudden a line's appeared, like she'd never seen it before, never notice it until somebody had said it, and then it became a problem. But when she realized that actually it's not doing anything to her, it's not hurting her, it's not stopping her life moving forward, it's not going to stop her being who she needs to be, and it could affect her visualizing skills. And she realized, no, it's not worth it. It's just not worth it. I would rather be who I am and be happy with it. So, and you know, that was before the conversation of her coming out with, I look in the mirror and say how beautiful I am. So it showed me that 6 months later, when we're back in the UK and she's continuing, that it doesn't bother her. And it was just a matter of asking those questions to see, you know, what difference is it going to make to her, you know? Because like you said, Lisa, so many people feel pressured. They see these things, but most of it isn't real. It is filters. I done a live today, and I found it really exciting that I could change the color of my eyes in this live, and I had blue eyes, and I was like, oh, this is really cool. I've got enough videos out there that shows me as me. So like me to mess around like that, like I'm happy to do that every so often, because it just brings something new to the table. However, I'm happy with, it's very rare that you see me turn up with lots of makeup, or I think I've worn eyelashes once in my life. And I had a photo done, and I was just, the whole time I was like, what are these things? Like,
I
know. It's so interesting though, isn't it? Because I think that, like, what I'm observing is quite interesting, because they know that everybody's on filters.
Yes.
You know, they know that. They even know that it's probably not going to change anything, the fact that they get a nose job or a whatever it is. And they understand the dangers, but they still want to do it. So it's like the culture is so unconscious that there's not a space for them to stop and go, this is all, you know, like even teaching them, you know, like I try to guide my daughter to understanding that it's about the not good enough that she feels back here. It's not really about what's happening on the face, you know, and but even with that, the pressure, the ongoing pressure, and the fact that there are so many young girls doing so many things, and that everybody is okay with it, or almost everybody, you know, that the people that do it are okay with it, you know, like that this is just what people do. And I'm like, it's quite out of control, isn't it? Like when these young girls are doing major restructures on their face and major restructures, what's left to do?
Yeah,
you know?
it's very frightening.
What's left, you know?
You know, from such a young age, though, it's starting to get younger and younger and younger, you know, like 20-year-olds. I mean, it started off, you know, where maybe women our age, and now it's like, you're hearing 20-year-olds wanting to get like Botox, and you're like,
and they're doing it though. Like they're doing it, like, you know. We're talking about 21-year-olds are doing this, 18-year-olds are having nose jobs and actually changing the structure of their face. And it's just like, it's like kind of go, what is going on? And, you know, and how do we make that change and I think it all comes down to being able to understand or learn to have that self-love. But what is self-love? It's, you know, it goes into such a deep way, doesn't it? Like
it does. But I think the culture, like the unconscious culture, especially from being in branding, you know, for me, for like 25 years, I mean, I suppose when my kids were growing up, I was always kind of, when they watch the TV, I'm always like, when they watch new television, as in adverts and stuff, I'd always be kind of saying, you know, if there was a new product out, I'd say, oh, you know what, that's marketing now. Like they're saying this, but they're going to say, you know, this is just going to sell you this. They're trying to say that you're not good enough. They're trying to, you know, they're trying to make money out of you, basically. So are you going to be controlled by that? Or are you going to be manipulated by that? Are you going to have your own kind of sense to yourself? Or are you going to be, you know, not talking directly to them, but just as a narrative, telling them exactly what's happening. Like there's a control with products and business, and there's always going to be the next latest cream, there's going to be the next latest makeup, there's going to be the next latest shoes, there's going to be the next latest, because that's, you know, that's marketing,
That's what
that's
it
sales.
is. Yeah.
You know, it's changed trends constantly, and to buy more, to add more onto yourself, to, you know, and obviously there's a balance in that. We love to express ourselves, we love to wear clothes, we love to express what we like to wear, how we want to look, you know. So there's a balance, there's a healthy aspect to that, and there's an unhealthy aspect to that. So the balance is, I suppose, when you're connected to yourself and that kind of inner beauty, and that comes from self-esteem. Your self-esteem is born from, you know, your sense of yourself, like your own essence. If you can connect with your own feeling of your own self, that's where that kind of beauty comes from. And I think when that happens, like, that's the key, because it kind of, everything else falls away naturally then. You know, it's actually,
I agree with that.
because you're not actually, nothing can actually outweigh that. Once you feel your own essence, nothing else will ever compare, no matter what. And nobody will sell you anything and manipulate you once you found that. Sorry, you know. So if you can teach that to girls, you know, we'd be doing a great job.
Because it's that separation
Yeah.
from that true self that makes us feel not good enough, that makes us feel like we're lacking, because we are.
And that's the
You know,
key.
we
to
are
good
lacking because we're not in our true self.
The key to healthy relationships as well. It's the lack of that essence, the feeling of ourself, our truth, and that will it'll show up in you know, changing our facial structures through whatever. It'll show up in, you know, poor choices when it comes to picking boys or whatever, you know, and relationships, because we're going to be, you know, pacifying, pleasing, again, wanting to add on to ourselves outside of ourselves. You know, it's just all symptoms of the same thing. The lack of understanding of who we are in our human beings, in our human design, is to be in our truth essence, and in the truth of our emotions, and the truth of our being. And absolutely what Anthea was talking about, being curious about what's emerging from ourselves in the creative process of life, is really kind of the most, I suppose, powerful thing to get in touch with, because that kind of also, when you can see that in your child and kind of can talk to that in children, you know, then that becomes a very empowering thing for themselves. And I find that it actually takes the emphasis off the outer appearance, because they get so purposeful in themselves. So, you know, it's all about emphasis as well. Where are you putting your attention? You know, are you putting your attention on the negative or on the positive? You know, are you putting the attention, are you feeling vital in life? Are you feeling engaged in life? Are you feeling part of life? And that builds self-esteem, and it also builds that natural emotional security, you know, like Lisa talked about.
Yeah, I totally agree. That's just such, you know, like the other day I had this conversation with someone and they're like, I don't like myself. I don't like myself. And I'm like, yeah, that's because you're dealing with the wrong self, right? And I thought, and I'd never said it like that, but I thought all this stuff we're feeling is just because we're not at home in ourselves. We're not, you know, and I use this metaphor of baking a cake, right? So and this is, I talk to my daughter a lot about this, it's like, you know, you've got this beautiful cake, you've got all the ingredients inside of yourself, you've got the resources there, you can build this a magnificent cake that smells so good, tastes so good, it's like, oh, so good. What happens though, we have experiences where our cake's not fully built and we think we need to go outside to get some ingredients. We think we need to go and get some more sugar over there. You know, we think we need to go and get some more milk over there. And we're trying all the time to get these great ingredients, but there's no better ingredients than the ones we've got. We just have to really come in and focus and build our cake. And then when our cake is like baked and we've got this beautiful cake, someone might come along with some really nice icing and we go, oh, that'd be nice, I'll try that. But we don't need the icing. It's just like, okay, that'll add to my cake. You know, and I thought it was just like such a really simple way to explain how we develop and how we are taught by our culture that we can't build a cake ourselves, and especially not a beautiful cake, which is just bullshit.
Yeah, I'm just laughing, Lisa, because Steph and Anthea were talking about that the other day.
That's what I was just thinking as well. We were saying exactly the same thing.
We said the very same thing. You said you have to get a cake and you build a cake, and you said everything else, once you have your cake, everything else is the icing and the sprinkles.
Exactly what we said, literally. That's quite amazing.
Okay, so there's something in this cake metaphor.
Yes, we're very aligned in the cake metaphor, absolutely. And it's so true. Like, you know,
so
we're born pure positive energy at the end of the day. We are pure love. And the only reason why we feel this discord between ourselves is because we're pulling ourselves away from ourselves and we're focusing on the wrong side, like you said. But once you emerge back into you and you align with the full self that you are, the full positive feeling self, that emotion of goodness, then you can be, do, or have anything. All the other things, you don't need those outside things, but they do. You can say, oh, yes, I can put those little sprinkles on top because it helps you feel better, right? It helps. It helps make it look pretty. It helps it. It helps build to it at the end of the day, because, like, if we buy, like, you can go and buy a house, and the house could have everything you want in it. However, you decide, oh, I could do with a little outhouse now. It's not because the house isn't good enough as it is, just that you want to add a little bit more onto it. You want to do something else. And every time you look at it and you think, oh, I'm not happy, it's like something will go wrong within that house. And then you go, well, why is it going wrong? And then you start focusing on what's going wrong. And the next thing you know, everything collapses and that cake falls apart. But actually, if you bring yourself back into that place of, I have everything I need, I'm just doing this for fun. This is because of enjoyment, because this brings more happiness to my life. It helps me feel better. It helps things come into play easier. Then you can play with things, because I think a lot of the time we take ourselves way too seriously and we take life way too seriously. Or actually, we're here to be spontaneous and loving and energetic and do these great things. Like, you don't see, you know, one of the things I wanted to just come to my mind is, talking about children, or even like little girls or little boys, or just children in general, how many parents will say, no, don't do that, don't do this, don't do that. Well, you know what, if you listen to a child, they could pick up something and play for 2 seconds and then what's next, because they're curious. They want to know what's next. And that is life. What's next? Don't need to hold on to what it is right here and right now. What is next? What can I do next? What fun can I have? It's not about your appearance. It's about what's happening in here, what you feel in here, and what you can do, you know. And there's so many young girls who, I mean, I've got a family member who, when she's about 16, 17 now, but when I spoke to her at the time, I think 13, 14, and she was being bullied. And however, we had a great conversation, and what she'd done is she was quite happy and open to speak about what was happening. So what she started to do was use that to inspire other people in how she was moving forward within it. And to help her, she went into the depression, and she didn't want to be around. She didn't want to live. And, you know, within our conversation, after it wasn't just one conversation, a number of conversations, she started to really open up and really get into that and just do little videos. And the more she was doing them, she built this confidence about herself. And it was so beautiful to watch the blossoming of her, to just see from, and what it really comes down to, again, it's just how she felt about herself, and I think it was through the lockdown where there was things that she wanted to do, she couldn't do, and felt very stuck. And so many people did feel stuck through that time, because you wanted to go outside and they say, oh, don't go out, you're not allowed to go out. And it's like, whoa. I mean, I never followed the rules, unfortunately. I was, you know, I'm not a follow the rule person, so I actually traveled during that time, was at the beach, was driving around, going to the mountains, doing lots of things. Thank goodness, because I believed that I was free, I wasn't stopped and got into trouble, because I was actually abroad at the time, and where I was, had somebody stopped us, it was a fine on the spot. But I'd done it for 6 months and nobody knew nothing other than you know, just me and my friend that were traveling around and enjoyed life. And I think it's the story you tell yourself, you know. So I think if we can implement into our daughters or into our children in general, it's how you talk to yourself. It's that self-talk. How, you know, what can we say better? And if we are who we want our children to be, then they will naturally pick up from us and do what we do. So, and I think that goes both ways, right? So if we keep on looking in the mirror going, oh, why are we so fat? Or why is my hair look like this? Or, you know, why isn't my legs longer? Or why is my bum? You know, if you're asking these things and you're going to your daughter and you're asking these things, guess what? That mirror effect, that's going to rub off on them, and they're going to be doing the same thing. So I think we've got to be super aware of how we're showing up, with the things that we're saying, and what we're doing in our life, which will naturally, sometimes words don't even need to be spoken. When they watch you and they see you're doing you're living out your passions and you're doing the best that you can, then they naturally will follow suit in that sense. So I think it's really down to being who we feel, doing the best we can in ourselves, and then let them come to us and ask us, well, Mum, how comes you're so happy these days? What are you doing? You know, oh, Mum, how come you haven't complained about your body? And you can speak to them on that level, you know, to say, well, actually, I was reading this book, or I watched this video and I realized this, and it will make them stop and say, okay. They might not even say it to you, because especially if you've got teenagers, they kind of like to hide away and do their own thing. Not all of them, but some of them do. So, I just think we need to stand up and be that person, and that will really rub off on our own daughters, like massively. And I've seen it in my life and I've seen it in others. So I really, truly believe that that's a really good place to start with yourself, you know.
And Carolyn and I both agree, which is why we've started the Diamond Mother Ring, because it's like, how do we do that, right? It's like, you know, we know sometimes as mums, we know there's this calling that there's a better way, and it's like, and you feel it, but it's like we're not taught it. So how do we find it? So that's what we're here to do. That's our job, Anthea.
That's it.
But this is the thing, and now look, your daughters are now looking at you two individually to say, look what Mum's doing. And they might not say it. They might not even say it, you know, because sometimes they don't want to say it. Like, you know, we think that we're doing the best, and then they're like, oh, Mum, that could be embarrassing. Like, some children could be like, oh, that's embarrassing. But really subconsciously, or on that, they close the door and they think, look what my mum's doing. That's really cool. You know?
Well, we're being courageous and brave anyway, putting ourselves out there regardless.
Absolutely.
They just hear me saying, I'm going on another live, I'm going on another live, I'm going on another live.
Another live, right?
They're like, now they think, she's just on another live.
That's what Mum does.
Exactly.
What a wonderful thing you guys are doing, honestly. Like, honestly, there, you know, we need people like you guys out here to be able to stand up and be courageous and say and open up these conversations that people don't want to open up. Be available to people to be able to come and ask questions, and to see, you know, what difference can I make to my life and my daughter's life, or to my son's life, or to my family's life in general, or to my own life, you know? And I think by having these conversations, this is why I appreciate the internet so much, and just the fact that we can do this. Because look, from all over the world, we can get together and we can reach people, and we can make a huge difference out there. And one by one, day by day, you know, each person that implements something into their own lives will make a difference in the long run, because how we think, how we feel today is you know, it's our thoughts of yesterday and a month ago and a year ago, and they're all catches up with us today. So whatever we're thinking now and we're putting forward now is what we're creating for tomorrow and the next day. And we can all do that. We can all stand with an awareness of how we're showing up, what we're thinking, what we're putting out there, what we're saying to our children, and actually change the dynamics of everything, you know. How cool to know that we have that power, you know, to make that difference.
you be the change you want to see in the world, you know, like, so, and we have the freedom to do that. So, you know, being, you know, I suppose trying to break the dynamic of the unconscious culture is something that is possible for everyone to do. So once they know what their values are and what they want to stand for, you know, everyone has their own voice. And what we're really interested in as well is empowering the younger female generation to have this feminine force going forward. And because, like we were talking about, you know, that potential that you always talk about, Anthea, as well, the potential that is locked within the younger girls, you know, is a huge untapped resource in the world for creativity, for everything that they've been put on the planet at this particular time to do. And we feel like the mums can really unlock that. They have the keys in their pockets for their daughters' empowerment. So that's really the part of the global movement, the revolution that we're trying to kind of really put our strength and our force behind, you know. So it's been really amazing to have a chance to get your power behind that too, Anthea, like, you know, because you're such an amazing speaker and you're always just love your company. You know, it's just been absolutely amazing. Elisa, I'm sure you agree.
It was a great conversation. I feel so inspired, and I feel like I'm in Australia. It's the morning now, so like I'm just always so set up for my day. I feel like I've had my, you know, my little input, and it's just great. It's really good. So thank you, Anthea. Really appreciate you coming on and sharing your time with us, and hope to have a lot more conversations with you in the future too.
Oh yes, it's been an absolute blessing being here. Thank you. And that's so nice that it's the morning for you, because you get up now, you got the whole day ahead feeling super inspired, super empowered, ready. And look, you know what? And the greatest thing about that as well is we start from the morning and we start feeling like this from the morning. Guess what? Opportunities are seen by us. We're able to implement things easier, and we have the energy to do what we want to do. It doesn't matter what age you are. You know, the more you do the things you love and follow your passion, the more that you meet great people and opportunities are shown to you, right? And you can just get involved in ways that you didn't even know were possible. You didn't, you know, you think like you watch your life unfold and you go, wow. And it all comes back down to the self of who you are, and focus on your daughter's well-being, focus on the greatness of who they are. And I think accept them for who they are and exactly how they are. And I think when you're trying to change somebody, it doesn't work. But when you can accept them, and that acceptance from, especially from a mother, to their daughter, to accept them for how they are, who they are. And if you think that they could improve on certain things, I'll give you one little thing before we go here. My daughter used to answer the phone and she would never ask people. She went for a stage where she wouldn't ask somebody how they were. She would just, they would ask her, hi, how you doing? And she's like, I'm good. And then that was it. She wouldn't ask them, are you okay? And I noticed it one day. I said, you know what, you could improve on would be really good, and it make you feel really good. And she said, what's that? So, you know, when you answer the phone and someone asks you how you are, just ask them how they are too. She was like, wow. Like it wasn't like it was an alien thing to her. Like, have you never heard me ask people how they are? She was like, and I didn't do it in a harsh way. I done it in such a light-hearted way. And she realized, and she stopped and thought about it. So the next conversation I heard, she actually stopped, and I felt her energy stop and go, oh, how are you? And now so I didn't try and change her. I didn't like attack her to say, oh, you can't know what's wrong with you. Why are you doing that? Or I just said, you know, in a very easy way, and just pointed out to her, just highlighted what could make it better for her too, and what would make a better conversation and help her with communication is if she asked how the other person was too, not just take what they were, you know. But she was about 14 at the time, I think 15, and then then she just realized. But I think this is, you know, how we approach things, how we say things is everything. The energy we're putting out there, just love on them regardless. They, you know, they've got a journey just like we've got a journey. They've got complications going in their own little minds, how we've got the same going on as adults. They're trying to understand the world, trying to understand what's happening out here, what's going on social media, like trying to understand, you know, so many different things of social media, and seeing all these models and all this perfection, this perfection that doesn't actually
Mhm.
exist.
Yeah.
So yeah, be easy on yourself, be kind to yourself, and just be easy on your daughters, especially because they really do need that ease and flow of life, and have
They do.
fun. Yeah, enjoy.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, I love that. That's right. Thank you so much, Anthea. It's a beautiful
Thank you.
conversation. And thank you, Carolyn, again.
Oh, thank you,
Bye.
girls. Thank you, Anthea. That was an amazing show. I absolutely think there's so many gems in that, guys. Keep watching it back because you'll hear something new each time. Thanks for everybody who's listening
true.
live, and everyone
Yeah.
who was watching on the playback.
The
And
replay. Yep.
yeah, exactly. And if we want to get on board with the Join the Diamond Mothering, the actual program is up and running now. So we're enrolling at the moment. So if anybody wants to join in the training program that we have put together, it's on the link above or below.
Yep, wherever that is.
So,
The link's
yeah,
there. Come check it out.
yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
Thank
Thanks,
you very
Anthea,
much,
so much.
Anthea. Thanks,
Excellent.
everyone.
Thank you so much. See you
Thanks so
later.
much.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Bye. Bye. Bye.